An unprecedented episode has shaken the very foundations of the British Parliament. What recently unfolded in Westminster was a political explosion of such magnitude that its shockwaves were felt across the entire nation. During a nationally broadcast session, acting Prime Minister Keir Starmer was removed from the House of Commons following a heated verbal clash with Nigel Farage that rapidly spiraled out of control. What began as a routine Prime Minister's questions quickly descended into institutional chaos, exposing a government on the brink, a leader overwhelmed, and a public growing increasingly disillusioned with its political class. The turning point came when Nigel Farage, calm yet assertive, launched a scathing critique of the government's immigration policies. He highlighted record-breaking illegal channel crossings, the soaring costs of housing asylum seekers, and secretive deals with Brussels. Though his tone was measured, the substance of his remarks landed with considerable weight. Starmer, clearly agitated, interrupted Farage before he could finish. What followed was not a reasoned rebuttal, but a direct assault. The Prime Minister erupted into a furious tirade, accusing Farage of inciting hatred, questioning his right to speak, and shouting across the chamber in what many observers described as a complete emotional breakdown. The reaction in the Commons was immediate. Audible gasps echoed through the room. Senior Labour MPs appeared stunned. Reform UK members rose to their feet, while Conservatives jeered loudly. Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle called for order multiple times, but Starmer ignored all decorum, continuing to shout and gesticulate wildly. At that point, Rule 43 was invoked, a rarely used parliamentary provision allowing the Speaker to eject a member for disorderly conduct. For the first time in modern history, it was enforced against a sitting Prime Minister. Security officials approached and instructed Starmer to leave the chamber. He resisted. He argued. But the Speaker remained firm. He had breached the rules and had to go. In front of a stunned Parliament and with the nation watching live, the Prime Minister was escorted out. The silence that followed was deafening. This was not a resignation, nor a negotiated exit. It was a forced removal from the heart of British democracy. Throughout the incident, Farage remained silent. When he finally spoke, his tone was calm but cutting. "This," he said, "is what happens when leaders can no longer defend their failures. They crack." He added that Britain needs strong leadership, not public meltdowns. The contrast between Farage's composure and Starmer's breakdown became the central theme across news bulletins and digital platforms. Social media erupted with disbelief and outrage. Footage of the incident went viral within hours. Political panels, radio shows, and even non-political podcasts couldn't stop discussing the moment the Prime Minister lost control. Across urban centres and working-class communities alike, voters were left asking the same question. If the Prime Minister can't keep his composure in Parliament, how can he be trusted to lead in a real crisis? Within hours, the Labour Party entered emergency mode. Urgent internal meetings were convened. Senior figures expressed outrage over the damage done, not just to the party's image, but to the office itself. Rumours of leadership challenges began circulating. Names like Angela Rayner, Wes Streeting, and Yvette Cooper emerged, not as ministers, but as potential successors. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage and Reform UK seized the moment. They circulated footage of the incident, framed it as a turning point in national politics, and launched campaign events across the country. Donations surged, membership numbers rose, and for the first time, Farage began to be seen not just as a provocateur, but as a credible statesman. In stark contrast, Starmer vanished from the public eye. After being removed, reports indicated he exited the building through a side door. There were no apologies, no press conference, no official statement. Just silence. And that silence was interpreted as defeat. It was not seen as a calculated move, but as a capitulation. Even media outlets traditionally sympathetic to Labour struggled to defend the Prime Minister's behaviour. Headlines across the spectrum ranged from leadership in crisis to the day Parliament broke. The Guardian highlighted Labour's growing internal rifts. The Daily Mail called it the day leadership died. The international press quickly picked up the story. Outlets in the US, France, and Germany broadcast the footage, with some even speculating whether the UK was entering a phase of constitutional instability. Legal experts began debating whether Starmer had breached the ministerial code. Key questions were raised. Can a Prime Minister who has been expelled from the Commons continue to govern? Can the executive function while its leader avoids public accountability? These were not theoretical musings. They were discussed in real time on news programs and in living rooms up and down the country. With Reform UK surging in snap polls, a new political reality was beginning to take shape. The ruling party appeared fractured, its leader discredited, and the opposition gaining rapid momentum. But the story here was not simply about the collapse of a single man. It reflected a deeper institutional decline. The House of Commons, once the stage of reasoned debate, had become a battleground of emotional breakdowns. Starmer's outburst symbolized more than a personal failure. It was the clearest sign yet of a government overwhelmed, directionless, and dangerously out of touch with the public mood. The ongoing migration crisis, delayed deportations, and secret EU talks had already eroded trust. But this moment, this breakdown, was, for many, the final straw. Now, the country waits for answers. It waits for leadership. It waits for a prime minister who has yet to reappear. What we witnessed may not have been just a scandal. It may have been the moment the British public watched their government fall apart. If this moment struck you as hard as it did the rest of the country, we want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe this marks the end for the Prime Minister? Are we witnessing real change in British politics? Share your opinion in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more updates. See you in the next one.